Welcome to the show about all things making music, from the creative process and workflow to gear and recording techniques. I'm your host, Brian Funk, musician, producer, Ableton certified trainer, and author of the 5-Minute Music Producer. Let's learn to become better music makers. Welcome to the Music Production Podcast. Today I'm speaking with music producer and software developer Tom Carpenter. Tom is currently on tour with his 3-piece indie electronic band called Moon Tower. His company Soap Audio has created the Soap Voice Cleaner, designed to help podcasters quickly fix common audio problems. The plugin has climbed into the top 3 downloads on MuseHub. We spoke about his current tour, creativity in the studio and in programming, and about finding multiple ways to build a career around music. Please welcome Tom Carpenter to the Music Production Podcast. This episode of the Music Production Podcast is sponsored by Baby Audio and their new drum synthesizer called Techno. This is a reimagination of some of the classic drum machines. It allows you to create your own drum sounds from the ground up or use a ton of really cool presets. You get anything from big, huge, massive drums to more subtle things. You have total control, and there's a lot of fun to be had with this. I'll let you hear a different drum kit right now. These are just the built-in presets, and they sound amazing. There's so much you can do with these. Give you a new beat. One of the things I really love about this device is the humanize feature, so I'm going to turn that up a bit. And this is going to make the timing and the parameters of the synth change all the time. I'm going to turn up the parameters so you can really hear how these drum sounds are just changing, like real drums and like drum machines do sometimes. Let me just take this snare. I've got the humanize cranked up, so every time I play this snare, it sounds a bit different. Turn the humanize down, and you get the consistent drum sound. So you've got these drums that are alive and moving. On top of that, they've got some really nice randomization features. I'm just going to click the random dice, and we've got a completely new drum kit, and it sounds awesome. Listen to that snare. Nice. Really fun sound there. I'll just hit it again for another randomization. And I'm getting new sounds just like that. It's pretty intelligent. Sometimes when you're using drum machines to design sounds, you wish you could have access to those individual sounds. Baby Audio makes this so easy. Techno just allows you to grab any sound and just drag it onto an audio track, and then you've got the sample. And you can use that however you like. Additionally, say you take some of their more tonal sounds. I'm going to crank up the decay on this right here, and maybe I'll add some of the built-in effects like the saturation and the distortion, maybe even a little reverb. There we go. And I'm just going to drag this right onto a track that has my Simpler, which is a live sampling device. And now I've got a playable instrument. So there's a lot of potential for Techno as a sound design engine, but as a drum machine, it's a ton of fun. So I'm pretty excited about it, and really happy to have this as our sponsor today from Baby Audio. You can act now and take advantage of their intro pricing if you're fast, and you can also use the code MPP15 to get another 15% off. So go to their site, babyaud.io. So it's BABYAUD.io. And use the code MPP15 to get another 15% off this really fun drum machine. Tom, welcome to the Music Production Podcast. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Excited to be doing this today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you too. It's been nice to get to know you for a few minutes before we started and hearing about some of the work you're doing.
Likewise. Yeah, I'm a fan of the podcast, so I'm very honored to be asked to come on.
Yeah, cool. I think I'd like to tell people exactly what you're doing right now, because I think that's pretty fun right now. You're not at home.
No, I'm not at home. I was telling you before we hit the record button here, I'm slightly embarrassed, having watched the other Brian Funk podcast, to not have my cool synthesizer set up behind me like yourself. I am in a hotel right now. I am on tour at the moment with my band.
That's very exciting, and it's I think it's kind of a cool indication of like some of what you're doing because of course you've got the Soap Audio company with the voice cleaner plugin that's doing
Yep.
really well. Playing in a band, producing music on your own. You're doing a lot of different things at once to make this all work. I think that's how the dream works these days, is we find lots of different avenues to pursue the music and the art and the love of it.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, I can talk for a while about my, the joy I grab from every little different angle of that. But specifically being on the road here, it's always a joy. We haven't the band hasn't been on the road for about a year and a half now, and we're in about week 3 of this current tour.
Mm,
So starting to miss home a little bit, but we're about a week and a half out. So it'll
yeah.
be great. I can go back home and hug all my microphones and get back to a decent listening environment. But playing on stage every night is its own joy.
Yeah. And you guys are, you said, an indie electronic three-piece.
Indie electronic three piece. I said right before, yeah, don't want to sound too self congratulatory because this is not where we've achieved, but our North Star, as it were, of what we want to sound like is if the Killers were to ever work with Daft Punk. So
Mm,
we've got the love for the classic drum machines and all the Ed Banger stuff. If we would talk about like Sebastian and Mr. Wazo, Daft Punk, DJ Medi, Justice, Ufi, all that kind of like 12-bit aliasing, way too side chains, limited as heck sound mixed with some of those like alt rock guitars. And also, all three of us in the band are very big fans of pop music and well written songs. We talk about, till the cows come home. You can
mm,
have really experimental, um, groundbreaking sounds and mixtures that haven't been done. But to us, what really pushes it across the edge into fantastic is when you've got that great song that you're producing.
mm. Yeah. Song is usually the king. I mean,
Song is
doesn't
king.
matter how you dress it, and a good song
Yeah,
is a good song.
which is I say is a knob turner. So
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily a lyricist, but that is king.
So I want to ask you a little bit about how you guys work the band because I told you I play in a three-piece garage rock band. I play the
Yes,
guitar and sing, bass player and he sings, and drummer and he even sings sometimes too. And we
certainly.
have very defined roles, right?
Yes,
Now, anytime I've jammed with people electronically, I've got Ableton Live open and I can be everything, right? I can be the
certainly.
drummer, I can be the lead synth, I could be whatever I want. And a lot of the beginning phases is total chaos because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's used to doing everything. So now we're working together. Do you guys have defined roles that you play, or is it a song by song? How do you manage?
Certainly.
What are you
Um,
guys doing? Because one person these days can easily
yeah,
take over.
I mean, I will say one thing that we're proud of is that on this current rig that we're set up on, we are using Ableton, but Ableton is only used as a brain for which we send out program changes and MIDI out to our external gear. So we aren't using Ableton for tracks or anything like that. What we have going is I am doing the bass and the rhythm. And then we've got Devin, who's doing more of the harmony and some of the melody type stuff. And we've got Jacob, who is doing the lead vocal and some of the lead guitar work. So we've
Mm,
got, as far as gear on stage, we've got a Moog Sub 37, an XDJ, single XDJ, um, the ones that are pretty much CDJs, and two MIDI controllers, an XFX3 guitar processor, and the brain of our rig, which is built around a Motu Ultralight MK3.
mm,
And to really nerd out on what's going on, we are using a open source software called BeatLink Trigger that is hijacking some of the Ethernet connections that would normally be used intra Pioneer gear to be able to share BPM and hot queue information and loop and all of that stuff between two Pioneer devices. These awesome people that are developing this tool called BeatLink Trigger have opened up the kind of walled garden that is Pioneer, so that you can start using that. Um, I mean, there's a lot of information there in various
Hmm.
different ways. So now we've got hot cues on the XDJ being able to send us to Ableton locators. We've got Ableton Link, which is slave basically to the master tempo fader on the XDJ. So we're able to loop or speed songs up or slow sections down or anything like that. Keep things very jammy and very modular. And then we've got Ableton interfacing with the Axe effects to send program changes for our guitars and whatnot. I'm also playing bass on stage along with the Moog Sub 37. Um, we've got Ableton drum racks set up for the SPD. We've got the MPKs for the different sounds that are either sampled or you gotta keep the sense low overhead for live performance.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the setup is it's a lot of fun. We've spent a long time dialing it in, and like you were saying, the organization of it is really so that we can do those things that we have struggled to do in the past when it's kind of been, a guy doing tracks with an APC 40 and then a guy playing guitar on top of that. And that's
Mhm.
the jamming. Like maybe tonight we want to play the song faster. Maybe we want to loop this chorus 5 times. Maybe we want to, do the end of the set, do that loop at nauseum, something like that.
Hmm. So you got some flexibility then. You can actually just kind of communicate it with the other members, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's much more. It's a lot of people turning a lot of different knobs on stage, and
Uh-huh.
it's a lot of fun.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds cool. It sounds pretty technical with especially like hijacking the Pioneer stuff and
Yeah,
being able to convert that in.
it definitely took some trial and error to get that going. Um, Again, the BeatLink Trigger team is awesome. If you've seen any videos, they're starting to go viral right now of like
Hmm.
Deadmau5 using a CDJ to play Skyrim on like his Xbox.
Okay.
It's that same. It's silly, but you can use that. You can hijack the information, the Pioneer Link information, and hijack sounds like a dirty word. It's really just taking that information and using it in a different purpose.
Hmm. So that, but it's converting it into, I guess, like a language everything
Yeah.
else can understand.
Yeah, totally. Kind of intra program.
I have to imagine this did not happen like that the first time you guys got together. This, I mean,
No.
even when I play by myself with my MIDI controllers and Ableton Live and whatever, it's like this living organism that is always changing.
Yeah.
So, so hearing something like that might be a little intimidating, maybe for somebody that's thinking about getting into it. But it's one of the things I always say is like just start as simple as possible.
Oh,
So I'm
certainly.
kind of curious where you guys began with it.
Yeah, well, we always wanted, so we've been a band for about 10 years now.
Hmm.
And the name of the band is Moon Tower. And we started off, it's like that Linklater movie, Dazed and Confused. We were
Yeah.
college kids. They say at the end of the movie, party at the Moon Tower. And we wanted
Oh,
to
okay.
throw
Cool.
these Moon Tower parties. We were at USC. We were, dumb college kids. And we weren't worried about releasing music or trying to promote music or anything like that. We just, moreover, wanted to put on an awesome electronic show, sync up lights with it, and do things, interestingly. And I was an Ableton nerd and also a lighting nerd and something like that. But when we started, it was as simple as I had an APC 40. We knew that we wanted to get some guitars going. So we kind of just got a four on the floor, a microphone, a couple guitars, and started jamming together. Before we knew it, we started building out songs
Hmm.
and put that show together. Moreover, to say what's the best show we can do, what's the best jam that we can really get out of this moment. Not as much focused on what's going to be, the best thing to drive Spotify or the best way to represent this album that's finished. It was more about the love of the live performance at the get-go.
That's cool. And that speaks to what you can do with electronic based music these days. Cause I think, for the most part, it's been like we've recorded the song, we've
Yeah.
produced the song, and now we have to figure out how to get it into the live situation. But you
Yeah.
guys are jamming, writing the song more like a real band does, like a normal like rock kind
Yeah.
of thing. You play it out for a while, then maybe you might go back to record it.
Certainly. And I mean, the music came out and then we play it again in the way because
Yeah.
so there is that. You do want to get on a train at a certain point in time. But yeah, I think the ethos of it has always been live centric. I'm excited about what we're doing right now on this tour. We're playing our album that has yet to come out. It's locked and playing that in full every night. So doing a little bit more like we did in college, where it was you don't necessarily know the music if you're coming to the show. If you happen to be a fan, you may not hear exactly the stuff you've heard in the past, but it lets us all kind of live in the moment a little bit more, and it's been really rewarding. We
Hmm.
uh, we couldn't be prouder of this new album.
So it's getting the real treatment in front of a crowd.
Yeah, a little bit early too, so
Hmm.
it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a great time, and I'm just so happy these days we can do that kind of stuff, and really play
Certainly.
these instruments like instruments. Like we can actually make this kind of music without it having to be so rigid and kind of maybe like just pressing play and we're going. Um,
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, that's the way, even when we're not on stage in the studio, that I think we prefer to think about music creation. Um,
hmm,
be it we have a song that was written on acoustic guitar and now we want to produce it out, or we have kind of a loop or a jam or something like that going more in the box and we want to write to that. I think the idea is that we want to be more of gardeners rather than let's stay rigid here.
hmm,
It's and then afterward we do end up, doing the subtraction process to try and whittle down what was sometimes a long thing or sometimes bloated into, like I was saying, the most well-written song inside of that.
hmm.
And I have to shout out Devin Welsh and Jacob Berger, my two other band members, who are invaluable members of the creation process. It's all three of us and all of the Moon Tower stuff.
Hmm. Well, playing together 10 years, I mean, I could tell you from experience how hard it is to keep a band together for a bazillion reasons. So to be able to do that definitely
Believe it or
speaks
not,
to the
we've been
bond.
we've been playing together and we've been living together. We're roommates
Oh
for about
yeah.
10 years now. So we're closer to an old married couple than we are a band.
Yeah,
I guess
right.
an old married throuple.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's nice when it's time to rehearse and practice and work things out.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You just watching TV? All right, come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't have a living room. We have a studio. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
That's very cool.
totally.
Yeah, you use the same term, gardener. That's how I would think about it. The way I had my electronic setup going was I'm like playing these ideas and songs, and it's not so much like I have to really write them. I can just play them and nurture them and kind of, trim the little outgrowths here and there and let things blossom
Yeah.
naturally.
And I mean, now with modern DAWs and whatnot, we have such an ability to achieve perfection. And I do
Hmm.
love music. I mean, I listen to a lot of industrial stuff that's very jagged edges, and it can be almost abrasive in how perfect it is. And that's great. But also, so much of the music that I return to year after year, and I think a lot of people return to, is loved because it was capturing of a moment and it was kind of gardened. It wasn't perfected to the point of inhumanity.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's interesting stuff and
Yeah.
it can bring you back to listen again. Oh, did you hear how that went that way? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, certainly. What's your favorite type of music to listen to, Brian?
Oh man, that's tough. It depends on the mood, I guess.
I know. Is when someone asks that question, you forget every band you've ever listened to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm probably most grounded in like the stuff I grew up in, like rock, alternative rock and 60s rock and
Yeah.
things like that, 90s, 60s. Um, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot more into like technology and,
Yeah.
synthesizers, drum machines and stuff that I thought as a teenager was like so uncool. But
Certainly.
I think in the 90s, it was kind of uncool in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Maybe like you like Nine Inch Nails or something, but everything else that used a synth was kind of corny by then. I guess the 80s sort of did that to it.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but it wasn't long before I started to realize like a lot of the music I like has that stuff in it, even though I think I don't like drum machines or I think I don't like synthesizers. I'm like, that's a synthesizer right there that I thought was like a guitar or
Yep.
something. That kind of the way you are as a kid, you put these like lines in the sand for no
Oh,
reason other than just to have
certainly.
an identity. you
Yeah.
know?
Of course. Yeah. You got to be rock and roll with it. I think
Yeah, right.
of the same ilk for a long,
Mm.
long time.
Yeah, that leads me to now where I kind of never know where I'm gonna go the next time I make something, and it's a lot of fun that way. But
Yeah.
therein also lies the issue too, because when I was younger, just playing very specific kind of music, that's so many decisions were already ruled out. It was
Sure.
like, I'm gonna play my electric guitar. It's gonna be
Yeah.
loud and it's gonna be quiet and loud and quiet. And that was it. But now when it's like, well, I can make like a spacey ambient thing, or I can
Yeah.
make like acoustic singer-songwriter, you know, sometimes that's
Totally.
paralyzing.
It is. It's daunting sometimes. I mean, it's daunting on both sides, having, too strict of a walled garden in which to create, and it can be.
Mhm.
I think I agree with you. Even more paralyzing when you have the entirety of every sound ever recorded, and you've got every mode of synthesis to create anything in your brain. Um,
Yeah,
to find out what am I going to do here?
right.
Yeah,
One of my favorite, probably my favorite band is the Beatles. And I
certainly.
think about them and how much they experimented and all these things they tried.
Yeah,
But they were sort of exposed to it little by little, I think. And looking back, they even talk about chords, like, oh, somebody knows this
yeah, they
chord,
do.
so we took the bus over across town to learn it.
I've heard that
But
one. Yeah.
but we get everything at once. If you download any DAW, you've got everything. So
Well,
it's like,
we've
where do
also
I start?
with the Beatles, the history of the Beatles is the history of music technology in a lot of
Mm,
ways. They didn't
yeah.
have a lot of the tools that we rely upon. I mean, pre DSP, when we're just talking about signal processing in general, it was invented for the Beatles, for a specific use case.
Mm,
Uh, I think the story on the ADT, the automatic double tracker, was John Lennon didn't want to record a double of his own voice, so they had to invent a style of tape modulation to be able to emulate that, and be it new types of saturation or double tracking or ways of recreating sounds. It's so fun to go through the Beatles discography, and I find it so inspiring every time because it's the history of the tools.
mm. Yeah, and a lot of those new tools when they came out, they were like, let's give them to the Beatles. Like Bob Moog
Yeah.
is showing up with synthesizers and Fender's got some new stuff. They just send it to the Beatles and
Yep.
let's see what they do. And
Yeah.
yeah, they've
Uh,
we got it all at once,
we got it
so
all at once. It's daunting. Yeah, it's a lot trying to deal with all of
mm.
that.
Not complaining though. I love it. It's such a great time. I do feel thankful though that when I grew up, like I was a teenager in the 90s and
Mhm.
I had a 4-track cassette recorder. That was like a
Yeah.
big deal when I got that thing. And all I had was a mic and a guitar though,
Yeah.
so it was so limiting, but still felt like the whole universe opened up because now I can layer tracks. Wow.
Certainly. I mean, and then you advance all the way through to modern technology, and we've got, the best recreation that we can possibly achieve right now, um, of these, digitized sounds. And then I go back, like on this most recent record, all of the individual stems, um, kind of bar none, I put through what you're saying, a Tascam 246 6-track recorder from 1984, just so I
Hmm.
can get like a little bit of that saturation or that sound.
Channel
Um,
gain and all. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
degradation, just a little bit of
Hmm.
something, and that imperfection.
Did you run them onto the tape or just through the electronics?
Onto the tape.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, onto the tape and played it back and whatnot, and got to get a little bit wobbly with that specific model has a really nice sounding pitch up and
Hmm.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a very sound, like in sound right now. I feel like
Yeah.
that Tascam saturation is very in vogue. So I bought it off Craigslist and restored it and whatnot, just to see what all the fuss was about. And sure as heck, it sounds pretty great. Those those transformers and everything are really awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. I have a Tascam 388, which is an eight
Yeah.
track, which I absolutely love, but also is temperamental. I mean, some days it's just making so much noise and I have no idea why. And
I
then
will
the next
say
day,
one of the reasons why I had to do individual stems on a lot of the stuff. I mean, I would send buses, but two of the six tracks on my 246 pretty much gave out, and I got in there with a multimeter and tried to solder it back to life. I'm not sure exactly. I will get back. I will get to the bottom of it once I get back from tour here. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm using like channel 1 as L and channel 4 as R. And it's a 6-track machine, but it might as well be a stereo warmer.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I've done the same thing with mine. Like, I don't know what's wrong with track one, but
Yep.
let's just skip
Move on.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, sometimes it is just nice to have the plugins because they don't do that. They and if they do, it's a feature, you know.
It is. It is. I mean, a lot of my go-to plugins these days are the ones like Sketch Cassette, where you've got some of
Yes, it's a
that
really cool one. Yeah.
emulation of those, yeah, dropouts and that,
Mm.
yeah, algorithmic imperfection.
That's a really cool one also just visually too. I
Yeah, I
just
love
love
their
the look, the just
Audacity
penciled kind of thing.
DSP does really good work.
Yeah,
They,
they've got
yeah,
a bunch of them I like a lot. Yeah, one of them makes you sound like an MP3 kinda, which I can't
Lossy.
believe I've it might be Lossy,
There's
something like
Lossy
that.
Goodhertz.
I'm not sure. It's aberrant though. It has like you can kind of like draw on it. Um,
Okay.
it
Uh,
it makes it sound like I can't believe I want this sound ever because when like in the early 2000s when you were getting these like harsh digital sounds, you're like, oh, like what is this? But now it's just kind of fun to throw in there once in a while.
oh, certainly. Yeah, no, we've come all the way, haven't we?
Yeah.
I got an Instagram ad saying like recreate that classic sound of like bad A to D conversion from Pro Tools 2. And it's like, all right, we're now, yeah, getting digital recreations of digital.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. Maybe it's I googled it. Maybe it's Digitalis. Nonetheless,
That might be.
yeah.
I have
Oh,
like two or three of them. I really like their stuff.
yeah.
Um,
I'm a big fan of all the Aberrant stuff. Also, D16 plugin group is one of my favorite ones these
mm,
days.
yeah, they got those nice drum machines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their rate reduction, I think it's shoot, what's it called? The rate reduction from D16, Decimort 2
Mm,
is has some of the best saturation, and just really pleasant aliasing to me.
Digitales. That's the aberrant one I'm talking about.
Okay,
Digitales.
right on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hmm. Yeah. If you want to sound like garbagey digital from the early 2000s, that's
Yeah,
your best
I
bet.
it was cracking me up. Yeah, it's like if you don't, yeah, if you want a bad representation of your dynamic range,
Yeah.
and like, but at the same time, I mean, that was one of the things I came to learn when I was a kid. As much as I really loved that, the Daft Punk music and the French touch and the stuff that went around with that, you learned those were born out of necessity from
Mhm.
the hardware tools at the time. You've got the SP1200, and people would sample they would speed up the record player, play stuff unnecessarily fast, and slow it back down inside of the box to expand that 10-second sampling time on floppy disk, and then you'd have aliasing built into the sound, so that like both the sound of the aliasing and the 12-bit dynamic range of the SP1200 is kind of the sound of French house, and then you just put the kick too loud, you get an Alesis 3630, which probably costs
I have
42
one.
bucks. I've got a
I've
few.
had it since I bought it off eBay in like 2000. It was like
I
already
I
been
think I
getting
read
thrown
on
out.
it's no longer called the same website. Is it called Gearheads now? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Gearheads is calling it the one of the more affordable doorstops you can get is the 3630.
It it's not great.
It's not
But
great, and
it's got something. It definitely does. It's
when you want to do that pumped out, you listen to mixes sometimes on uh I'm just harking on French House for some reason today. But you listen to some of those mixes and they aren't great mixes in the technical sense. They don't have great frequency range. They don't have a great representation. They're pretty thin, um, but they have that thing. And uh, those guys found the thing. And I think a lot of the time, what I think my fellow music makers and myself are looking for is that thing of the moment. And it takes so much discovering and digging to find that thing. A slam 3630 with a kick drum going too loud so it pumps can be a thing. Or like the Strokes thing where you do the is this it? Let me put up,
mm,
you know, two microphones and get the sound of the room and have it sound terrible, but it sounds like the time. That can be the thing. Um, or you can go the Quincy Jones route and you get the most beautiful recording, the best, most perfect mix, and that could be a thing. But yeah, finding an identity inside of the mix and inside of your music production style is something I'm always looking for, and I'm looking for tools that can help me do that.
yeah, having a vibe, a feel, a
Yeah,
atmosphere is I think more important than anything. Because you can clean something up that doesn't have it
yeah,
and it just sounds distant or sterile or something. And I think sometimes I think a lot of times when you're just throwing ideas at the wall and going with it, maybe it's because you're not thinking too hard. You're not trying to get everything perfect. You're just reacting to the last thing you did. It sometimes comes together almost easier where if you try to purposely do this stuff,
yeah.
it can be too calculated and then it doesn't have the energy or the whatever
It's
that
not related
magic
to the
touch is.
gardening thing, where
Mm,
you see what grows, and then you
mhm.
find the beauty inside of it.
Yeah.
When you are trying to, I think who is it? Eno has one of his cards for oblique strategies is shoot the arrow, point the target, or shoot the arrow, paint the target around it. And
Hmm.
I love that when it comes to kind of music
That's a good
production
one.
in general.
Yeah. Well, I think a big thing we spend too much time doing is aiming the arrow and then never
Yeah,
shooting it.
certainly. Or getting frustrated when you shoot the arrow at a target and it hits somewhere else and
Mhm.
not appreciating it. At least the problem I run into, not painting with a broad brush here, is not
Yeah.
appreciating it for what it is. If I heard that thing in my head, trying to separate that thing that I was hearing from what's actually there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a really great book on this called Why Greatness Cannot Be Planned, The Myth
Cool.
of the Objective. And it comes from like an AI background. So they're talking about they're AI programmers.
Sure.
And I think it's even already like a bit old, like 2016 or something like that.
Yep.
But they talk about how when you are purposely trying to get someplace, that's often prevents you from getting someplace new and interesting. So
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
when you're just shooting the arrow and painting the target around it, you've reached a spot you wouldn't have come to before. And now you will see new steps after that that you wouldn't have seen if you were just trying to get to, whatever point B was,
Yeah,
where there's
totally.
a place you've already been and we already know what's going to happen. But when you get to that novel place, now you're able to see it, the next novel place a step away from that. And you kind of keep following these little stepping
Yeah,
stones.
totally. I love that. I think I've
Yeah.
heard it said. I mean, we're both just repeating ways we've heard it said. Someone, I forget where it was on a podcast. It might have been the Lex Fridman was talking. Someone was speaking to um, chasing excitement without expectation, and at any
Mm,
given moment, choosing the route whenever you're given a choice in life or in creation. Um, choose whatever option offers even marginally more excitement to you. And if you are to do that without expectation and do that nobly, I think he was saying,
mm.
then you can
Very
experience
similar.
becoming.
Uh,
As Vonnegut says, experience becoming.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a very similar concept to that book, actually. And it's helped me a lot
certainly.
with making music because now it's just like, and I don't mean like, let's see what happens. Like, I don't have any direction. It's more like, let's work with what happened, maybe is a better way to put it. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we're here now. Okay, now what can we do with that?
certainly.
Instead of, oh man, I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be there. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
frustrating.
It certainly can be, but
Mm.
there's yeah, so much beauty in it
Yeah.
when you allow there to be.
Yep. Yeah. And between that and just trying to see what I'm doing as more like a body of work or like breadcrumbs I'm leaving along the way
Yeah,
instead of like, this must be my masterpiece now.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever made anything good with that mindset. Like,
No,
now I will
it's
make a masterpiece.
yeah, it's really difficult when you decide before it's your masterpiece that it will be your masterpiece. It
Yeah.
almost becomes a self-fulfilling, what do you say, opposite of prophecy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
So I'm curious now. If you because this is we're talking like music creating, producing,
yeah,
but you're also in the DSP world of programming and creating
certainly.
tools now. um I guess I'm wondering if are there parallels, or are they different things, because maybe this is a little more.
I
I guess
actually
when I think of programming, I think very logic based and numbers and.
it is I came to the the want to get down to the bottom of DSP and learn programming from a love of music creation. I was always fascinated. I think it goes back to my dad took me to my first concert. It was Rush, and Geddy Lee had all of those. He's got the Moogs on stage and whatnot, and he's turning knobs, and you watch the studio footage of them and whatnot. And I was always fascinated by what the knob does. Why, when you turn that knob, does it, if you turn that, it now sounds darker, or it sounds this and that and the other. And now at this point, I know that's the cutoff on a low pass filter, and that's the resonance underneath it. And we, use those to be able to shape with subtractive synthesis what's going on the Moog. But I really probably about 6 years ago started asking the question of, well, why does that do that when it comes to audio plugins, and come to DAW digital audio workstation. work when we've digitized what is a signal. Um, what is that? What is that? That was a real thing. That was pressure coming out of the air and frequency and amplitude. And what happens then? Why does that knob inside of the computer make it come back out of my speakers different when it's translated back into something that my ears are hearing? Um, so it came from, I think, an innate curiosity, and that led me down the path of trying to figure out, well, the best way to learn is probably to do, in my opinion. So I started getting into really elementary juice development, and juice is a framework that is amazing, and they've got a really amazing set of tutorials online, and there's a lot of great classes and people, and I started checking out textbooks from our local library on what is kind of digital signal processing for audio applications. Um, and the more I got into it, the more I found I'm deriving as much joy from creating the knob that is to be turned as I am from turning
Mhm.
the knob. Um, so it came from a very similar place of creation, and it still offers me the same joy of creation. It is more binary in that I would say if I have a piece of modular gear and I am plugging in wires in different places, I might end up with a beautiful mess. And with when you're writing inside of a programming language like C++ or Python, you're less, I guess, you can't really go down the messy route. It needs to be quite organized for you to be able to achieve anything. But the joy that I felt when I was able to, use a plugin that I wrote inside of my DAW was very similar to when I had spent 4 hours patching cables to get that particular kick drum out of my, Pulsar 23. Like, I
Mm.
love that kick drum to death, and now I have that kick drum is mine. No one else has that. That exists in the moment. The same way I know exactly why the numbers that were translated from the Fourier transform, then manipulated by me in the digital signal processing domain, and then were put back out to be waveforms again that are audible. That's mine. There's an accomplishment there. So that was kind of hopefully that makes sense. That's a little bit of my villain origin story. That's how I got into plugin development.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Not so much in that actual programming in that way, but I've been creating like Ableton Live packs
Yeah,
using instrument racks and drum racks, audio effect racks, and the thought of like, all right, how am I going to make these macro knobs interact? What do I want to have control over? How much control over each one of those parameters do I want?
yeah.
And how does that influence how I play the instrument? I find that really exciting, and
I
it's
think it's very
especially fun. Yeah.
very similar. It's just in a different medium. And
Hmm.
I think that coding can be thought of as inherently prohibitively difficult to wrap your head
Yeah.
around. Um, with modern tools and with the amount of information there is out there and the wherewithal to kind of want to get into it, I think even if you want to start at Ableton macros and go down to Max for Live and then go into maybe I'm going to write a low pass filter or something like that, try to wrap my head around what's going on there. I think it's just a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole, and I think it's all in the act of creating.
Mm.
Um, it's fun. It's very rewarding. I encourage anyone to that would be curious to give it a go.
Yeah, I could see that, and especially when you're gonna apply it to your own music too. That's gotta be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
So I mean, I have tools that are, and this was my how I started. I have plugins that are internal use only. They aren't
Hmm.
they aren't out there. So and I don't say that as being like I have something that you can't have. I say that moreover as saying like it's very rewarding to me to say, oh, I need to get this out of the sound. I need to juice the sound. Well, I dialed in my own plugin that I use inside of Ableton that does what I need. And if it doesn't work exactly like I need, maybe I'll go down to the code and change that a little bit and re-export the plugin for my use. Um, it's similar to patch cables or anything like that in my head.
Hmm. Almost like I could get a different EQ, a different
Yeah,
console emulation, or I can go in there and I know I want this kind of character to the sound.
computer music, although we do have so many tools inside of the DAWs, and all of them ship with this massive suite of what seems like everything. In my head, computer music is a very nascent uh, genre. It there's a lot of room in there for exploring and creating new things and being messy in the same way that, like I was saying, just to bring it back, if they created an ADT so that John Lennon could have a new sound on his vocal, well, someone had to think of an ADT and then get out some tape machine and make it wobble and this and that, and then they put it inside of Abbey Roads and they used it to create some hit records. So I think there are a lot of tools that are yet to be made, and there are developers that are doing really amazing things all the time. Um, but I am inspired every time I go in there and I try and think of uh, kind of like the gardening. What are we going to do today? What's this tool that I'm going to try and create today?
Do a lot of those designs come from just a need while you're working on music, or is it more, let me just make this and then see what I can make with it?
Uh, we have a plugin that the Soap Audio guys and I made. We were trying to get down to the bottom of Michael Coleman, who is one third of Soap Audio, and he is an amazing mixer, producer, just audio engineer, musician, all around. Um, he was working with a lot of artists, and he realized that when they recorded demo drums on their voice memo on their iPhone, they would retrack the drums, and the artist would still prefer the voice memo drums. So we got down to what exactly is voice memos doing to the sound,
Hmm.
and why is that pleasing? And we built a tool that is not. It could be done if you route up a bunch of different. It's kind of expanding the quiet frequencies or the quiet dynamics, and compressing the high ones, and changing the ratio dynamics, or changing, yeah, the ratio of the dynamics computer in real time based on the input of the sound. Um, that tool wasn't out there, so we built it, and uh, we love it. So it was, for that one in particular, it was based off of just this everyday. Why do I keep on dealing with people that prefer voice memos? What are voice memos doing? Can we do what voice memos is doing with a more musical intent?
You're kind of referring to how I don't have to set the volume on my mic in my phone when I do a voice memo. It just sort of, it knows that because it's hearing what's coming in. And if
Yeah,
I'm whispering in it, it knows it needs to bring it up. And if I'm recording the band, it
voice
knows.
memos, at least what we found, is doing some strange processing that's unusual when you A/B it against the same source that was mic'd a different way.
Hmm.
The playback of a voice memo has kind of an interesting dynamics thing going on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've used them sometimes. The last thing I did with my band, I use it almost like a room mic. So the drums were already tracked. I just ran
Yeah.
up through this, played them out of the monitors, and just held my phone like right here where I'm sitting
Yeah.
and just let it record it and then just kind of mix that in a little bit. And it
Yeah.
definitely gave it a little bit of energy and a
A
little
little something,
more
something.
space. The
Yeah.
room of the song kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
It was
And
cool.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's great. Yeah, this particular tool that we will release eventually. Um, yeah, and we've also we've built in parameters inside of the GUI to be able to kind of push what it's doing or what we assume that it's doing or what we found via our analysis to the extreme. So you can do these
Right.
really crazy um, things to the sound, and it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Hmm. That is cool. But that came from a problem to solve because
Yeah,
why does
yeah.
everyone like this voice memo? It should not work. We
No, it
should,
shouldn't.
everything
It's
says no. Let's do it the right way, but there's something more
yeah,
right about this way.
yeah. And the product that we're currently selling on MuseHub came also from trying to solve a problem, which was
This is the voice cleaner.
this is the voice cleaner. Yes, from Soap
It
Audio.
has a super cool interface, by the way.
Thank you.
The red and yellow and real simple, but
Yeah, that
interesting to
one
interact
actually
with.
came from Michael Coleman again. So I do as far as the company, it's Michael Coleman, Kevin Fielding, and me. And Michael is a really great audio engineer, Grammy nominated, all that stuff. And Kevin is a very high level programmer. He worked on some of the Rabbit AI stuff, and currently is programming in the mobile space for Skims, and I do more of the plugin DSP backend stuff. Uh, so the voice cleaner came when Michael was complaining about basketball podcasts. He said
Mm.
all of them have the same issue. They have the same frequency buildup. They have the same I think Rostam from Vampire Weekend had a great tweet that I think about all the time. It said just like remove the low mids out of your life. They all had this terrible low mid problem, this terrible sibilance problem, this unevenness in their dynamics, and it was consistent. We could tell across different podcasts that were recorded in different rooms in different ways. And then we tried to kind of explain that we got in contact, and we tried to explain this to some of the podcast producers, and terms like equalization, compression, dynamic range, multibands, sibilance, all these issues were daunting and scary words for them. So
Mm.
we set out to make a plugin um, that is a little bit of a non-musical application, well, a lot of bit of a non-musical application for anyone recording the human speaking voice to get a pleasant speaking voice that is non-taxing on the ear and to fix the problems if you only have maybe the budget USB mic from Best Buy or the recording into your iPhone without trying to get that crazy dynamics thing that I was talking about. And it has been really well received by the people on that use Audacity and having getting the plugin via the MuseHub platform, and it's been a lot of fun getting to work with people and see the kind of the plugin have a bit of an adoption on a wide scale by podcasters and audiobook recorders, narrators, content creators in general. Um, People that may have never used a plugin before or never thought about digital signal processing or building a vocal chain or something like that.
Mm. And this works by they can choose like a profile or a preset
Yeah,
for like their specific microphone.
yeah,
That's cool. Makes it
yeah, we
easier
spent
than like
a long time getting just
some of the
about
other
all the
plugin terminology.
microphones that you could possibly really want or use inside of that environment, and I've done a lot of just mixing work for friends working in film and TV and on podcasts and that type of stuff. I find myself reaching for it more often than not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've solved some of the issues you've encountered, right? So it's almost like your own preset in
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
plugin, basically, right? Or
Yeah.
effect chain.
Certainly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When you're making one like this, I have to imagine, because it sounds like you're saying people that are doing basketball podcasts, for instance, they're not audio engineers, music producers,
Certainly.
which is probably why they're in the situation they are now, where you guys are saying, "Hey, something wrong with this." Um, how do you decide how much control to give within? Because you must have to decide some limitations, right? Because if they turn the knob
Yeah.
too far, they're gonna
Oh, certainly.
kill it.
The plugin took about 2 years to develop,
Mm,
and we worked with a lot of people, mainly parents of ours and stuff like that, where we really wanted to see, okay, push this to the limit. Can you make it sound bad? And I know, Brian, you have the plugin in front of you, but for anyone listening, it's got three knobs on it. One says squish, one says suds, and one says demud. It's got a help mode where it will explain what all of those do, but yeah, they're made very specifically to they're linked very similarly in macros when you might build an Ableton effect rack where you can have one knob controlling 9 different things.
mm,
And whereas maybe on a FabFilter plugin, you might have every single one of those program changes available to you, the end user, in the GUI. We wanted to go the exact opposite direction, where we said, best case scenario, you choose a preset. The knobs are going to be set where they are, where we've decided they should be set. And across a very broad range of human speaking voices that we demoed when creating the DSP for this plugin, we hope that you don't have to touch another knob. And if you do, uh, with the knob skewed and everything, we are decently confident that your voice is not going to sound, um, it's not going to take much to make it sound quite great.
mm. You want to take some of that control away because that's I
Certainly.
mean, if you're an audio engineer, yes, I want to have all these. I want to be able to do a bell curve and a, low pass and whatever, raise the resonance. But if I'm trying to make my podcast and I don't really know much more than how to cut out pauses or something like that,
Yeah.
this is what I can go to.
It's a lot like, I think in for a visual analogy, like an Instagram filter,
Hmm.
where I don't have access to the shutter and all that, and I don't necessarily want to. I'm
Right.
personally colorblind. I would rather not have access to all that stuff. But if I click the filter, I might be able to have something sound more professional, and then I can get, that side of the work, the decent sounds. If that's taken care of, then I can focus on what I really want to focus on. For the basketball podcast, it's talking about the subject matter of the podcast. Let's focus on making the podcast as enjoyable as possible and get to doing what you love.
Mm. Have you found anybody using this in more creative ways, like misusing it from the original intention?
That is an interesting question, and I have yet to see someone really try and break the plugin, or like circuit bend it or something like that to be able to get an unusual result out.
Or even people just running their drums through it or anything
Yeah,
along those lines.
no, if they are using the voice cleaner to do that, I would very much appreciate if they would let me know because
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
'Cause in thinking back, we were talking about some of, like, the old gear and the limitations that are
Yeah.
built in with it. Um, yeah, now we have all these devices where we have every parameter we can control, which is again, I'm not complaining, don't take them away.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's nice to have something that's gonna sort of do its thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna color it in its own way because it's been built so that yeah, this knob it's doing like three things at once, so things
It's
are gonna
a
react.
it's a Pultec versus like a Pro Q4. It's
Mhm. Mhm.
I love the Pro Q4, but I instantiate the Pultec emulations. I would love to have a Pultec, but I instantiate the Pultec emulations, specifically the UAD one, way more often. It isn't doing exactly what is written on the GUI, and I'm a pretty firm believer in when creating a tool that's supposed to be a efficiency hack and to be able to get out of your own way in the creation sphere, that it's more important to have an enjoyable piece of gear than a technical piece of gear. But there's different
Good point.
applications where I certainly need that Pro Q4, and I need to set, you know, a 20 band or like a crazy dynamic EQ that's doing all sorts of this, that, and the other, and stereo width, and yeah, there's use cases for both.
That's a great point because when I'm first creating a song and I'm getting in the vibe of it and the feel, I don't need to be pulling out some EQ where I'm looking at the frequency spectrum and boosting and cutting so that I get a little extra rumble. I want something where I can just turn the low end up and all right, now it's rumbling like I need it.
Yeah,
Now I can move forward. Later on, I'm mixing, I'm trying to fine tune things. Then, okay, now we'll get in there. But
they're different sides of your brain,
yeah,
at least for me. And there are people that create as they mix or mix as they create. And yeah, as far as keeping your tool creator centric, I prefer those that I think I mentioned the Pulsar. I love Soma Labs. Their instruments are so cool. Um,
mm,
I adore their the Pulsar 23 is a connection that just says WTF and wow and stuff like that, where it isn't made to be understood. It's made to be entropic, and whether or not it's like a sample and hold algorithm that's pinging off of an LFO, it is something. It is algorithmically random, or I guess it's analog, so it's not algorithmically, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
The entropy in it is great, and I love having that simplicity of this one thing I don't need to understand. I can just appreciate for what it's doing.
Mm. I
Yeah.
do that sometimes for myself with my own Ableton Live racks. I rather than call something like low pass filter with reverb plus whatever, I might just call it like distance or
Yeah,
melt. Just this is the melt knob, and it has a few things going on, and it gets me out of that technical mindset, like you kinda mentioned earlier, like when you're watching Geddy Lee and you hear the sound gets muffled, but now you
yeah,
know it's a low pass filter at, like, 1K and you get the
yeah,
numbers in it, and you almost, like, science yourself out of the fantasy world that the music is creating.
sure. Yeah, certainly. There's and I have gone down. I have only found that my appreciation for music has grown deeper the more that I learn about the really technical stuff, like the transforms at the base level of digital music, but being as umbrella and being as beginner minded as possible is also probably the most fun place to be creating music.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people fear learning stuff for that reason, like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna" and I guess that can happen sometimes where sometimes I hear a song like, "That's 1, 6, 4, 5 progression,"
Yeah,
and get, like, snooty about it, but as soon as I forget that it's 1, 6, 4, 5, I'm like, "Oh, what a cool chord progression."
that's
You know?
great. Well, I mean, it brings me back to like I was a bachelor of music, and the part writing was much more like completing a Sudoku puzzle. There's
Mm,
objective correctness inside of this. You don't do the parallel fifths. If you want to, resolve a plagal cadence, it's going to be this to that. And there are rules to it. And with programming and with doing DSP engineering, it is kind of, you've got rules to it, but the end product can still be beautiful if the composer followed all of the rules the end user experience, that end listener that's consuming the symphony still kind of derives emotion from it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that stuff can bog you down and pull you out of that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
I
a
loved
balance.
yeah, I always loved the way I would talk about music before I knew what I was saying. I'd be like, "That sounds like a star in the behind some clouds," and you got all these weird ways of describing things because you don't have the actual vocabulary, but in those descriptions, a lot of times it pulls you into this world,
Yeah,
what you're making.
I had a mistake, I think, on that front with accidentally pulling my dad out of it for a little bit. So my dad is a big music consumer and music fan. He turned me on to a lot of the stuff that I love. And he was explaining to me that a mix from I don't remember who didn't sound great to him. And I was explaining to him, no, the system on which you're listening to the mix doesn't sound very good. And then we got out my Slate VSX headphones, and we were like, they've got the different room emulations. You can listen to it in like a digital version of a Tesla or like NRG Studios or anything like that, and switch around. And my dad had this in real time. He was kind of realizing that um, is it the fault of the speaker manufacturer, the person that placed the speakers in a different room, or the mix engineer, and all of these different things. Um, and not that I regret it, because it's not like he doesn't enjoy music anymore. But I did realize in real time, I was like, okay, we're taking too much of the magic out of this.
Yeah.
We just, the bass can just be too loud. Let's let it
Yeah.
be. Let's
Right.
let that be what it is.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes yeah, you could be, like, at a show and really focused on, "I don't like the way that
Oh
particular
yeah.
drum sounds," or something, and then that's all you hear, and now you're
Yep.
not having fun at the show, or you just whatever, this is what it is, and
I had that issue at a music festival where I think I walked away from my friends so I could get a better stereo image. Like, what am I doing here?
right? I got the
Yeah,
better stereo image, but
yeah,
I'm alone, and I'm not sharing the
yeah,
experience anymore.
yeah. No, totally.
It's
It's
happened performing where I've been playing before, and, like, something about the sound just eats at me, and then I'll finish and be like, "That was terrible," and maybe
yeah.
even listen back to it, or other people, "Oh, so good, it sounded great," and you're like, "Well, I
That
guess
was
you."
one of the things with the soap vocal cleaner. More than anything, the issues with the basketball podcasts that Michael was listening to, and then we found the same issue across a lot of different podcasts. These kind of like amateur is the wrong word, but these kind of smaller podcasts that were very DIY, they were taxing to listen to. There was a
Mm,
reason why you, as a consumer, even if you couldn't vocalize it, even if you didn't have like the specific words to be able to say that, this is why it's taxing, you would turn them off because they had these issues. So we kind of wanted to fix that because at the end of the day, we wanted that, wanted the information that was behind all of that, those frequency problems.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was similar effect to, like, some of the music mastering that was happening, the loudness wars
Of
where
course. Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, wow, it's so intense, it's great," but, like, after a few minutes, you're like, "Oh my god, it's this I'm never getting a break, I need like, I'm getting a headache, and I'm getting tired
Yeah.
just listening to this because there's no
It's
push and
fun
pull, no
listening to
breathing
all
room."
the new remasters and whatnot where they've gone back and tried to really, you know,
Yeah,
get the original intended dynamic range.
right.
Suddenly that snare is not being buried, something like that.
It's a little funny when you go on the streaming services now, and you've got some choices of, like, what year version
Yeah,
of the
for
album,
sure.
like, am I gonna listen to Nirvana Nevermind from 2013 or the new 2021, 30 year, or am I gonna, where's the original? Can I just have that?
The
I
biggest
have
trick
friends
is
that have been going back to their CDs for that reason because they're like, I
I
just
just
want it to
want it.
sound the way it
Yeah,
sounded, not
yeah.
this new edition that
You were
are,
speaking about the Beatles mixes. Some of those are funny. I don't know which years they were, but there are some mixes I think I had on CD where it's like Ringo and George in the right ear and John and
yeah,
Paul in the left ear, where I'm not sure what the how that one crossed the finish line.
yeah, they
But
did a lot of weird stuff like that.
yeah, um, I'm a really big fan and huge. I'm very interested in spatialization and what's going to happen with head tracking and what they're currently doing with Atmos, where
Mm,
music can be panned more in a 3D environment. And stereo, like I was saying, digital music is decently nascent. Stereo, as a means by which we listen to music, is also, I mean, very much nascent compared to how long we as a people have been listening to music. The vast majority of that time, if you wanted to hear more of the bassist, there was no recording. You had to turn your head. You could hear more of where the bass was coming from. And
mm,
I'm curious whether or not when you mix what's currently implemented with gyroscopes and head tracking and all this, whether or not we'll move back to a place of being able to define your own listening experience via head tracking, or whether or not that will be an option, like you were saying, inside of the streaming services. Um, I want to put on Dark Side and I want to put on the Atmos version, but I want to be in a room where I can move,
mm,
even if I do, have on my AirPod Max or whatever they are.
mm. Yeah, these AirPods I have now, they're, I guess, like maybe they're the Pro or something. They're maybe a
Yeah,
generation behind or so, but they have that where if I put my phone in like my left pocket,
yeah,
at first it sounds like the music is on my side.
yeah,
And then it sort of like understands after a couple seconds that, oh, that's just where you're keeping your phone now. Okay. And then it centers again.
yeah,
Um, and that can be a little weird. I don't like it in that case. And it can be funny also if I have the computer connected to the AirPods and I turn away, I'm watching YouTube or whatever. YouTube is still over there. like
yeah,
like the speakers are. Um, it's a weird feeling. But it does allow some of the Atmos stuff to come, which I don't even really understand how they're able to do that with only two speakers in your head. But um, some of the mixes I've heard are great, really cool. One I really enjoyed was the B-52's Love Shack. I had the guys that
yeah,
mixed that on the podcast, and that was really cool because something I never noticed about that song, the entire way through, there's just people like partying.
yeah,
It's
for
like,
sure.
yeah, all right. Like people just, it's crowd noise kind of, and you really feel like you're in it. But there have been other mixes where it's like, whoa, where's that guitar? Like, what? The lead guitar is buried now, and
Yeah.
there's something weird going on here with this mix that having a hard time.
What I'd be curious about, and I'm really asking for the world here, is whether or not in a hypothetical future you could give the end listener volition in choosing how they would like, if you want
Where they want to
the
stand.
well, if you want the crowd sound in the B-52 to be louder,
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't look like a mixing console like an audio guy might understand it, but is there a world in which you could do something on your listening experience to be able to choose to have more John, less Ringo, more Paul,
Yeah.
you know? Is there something that you could do spatially? I know that they've done that kind of as experiments inside of physical spaces that have physical Atmos rigs. But as far as delivering music um, in that format, whether or
Mhm.
not there's anything there.
Yeah, kind of like what you're saying about getting the better stereo image at the show, moving over.
Yeah,
Or can I stand closer to Paul so I can hear his bass better?
How much choice do we want to give the the listener?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much of the actual piece of music is in the mix, those artistic decisions you're making with the mix. So if you're turning that over,
Yes.
you're changing a lot.
Oh yeah. There's a Yeah, I feel like I mix our music, so I'd also probably be, you know, not
Hey.
offended, but
Yeah.
I'd be cautious to hand that amount of choice over.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be something
Especially
like what we were doing with the voice cleaner, where you can change it enough, but not try and break it.
right.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you have a song that has 72 tracks in it,
Oh yeah.
you
No.
know,
There would have to be
but
some type of standardization in how that's delivered. It's a whole range of issues in what I'm proposing, but
yeah.
I
Well,
think
have
the
you seen
technology is
the
there.
Isotope as a visual mixer? Um,
No, I haven't.
yeah, I think it's through their Neutron app plugin where it kind of they all communicate with each other. But it's
It's like
there's a vertical line that goes up and down, and the that would be your volume. And
okay.
then it's like a graph, I guess, where you got up and
I
down, left
pulled up
and
an
right.
image of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you can just move those things around. And if you place it higher, it's louder. And if you place it more to the right, it's more to the right, more to the left.
cool. Yeah. I
Um, I've played with it a little bit. It was interesting. It's a neat way to mix that,
would
you
you
know,
put each of those so you'd put each of those on your individual stems at the end of the chain, and then that would be
yeah,
like
so
gain and
I
panning
if I
type.
remember correctly, if you have a bunch of these neutrons on the tracks, then they all feed to some
Oh,
central location,
got
and
it.
then you have the visual mixer where you can push things around a bit.
The only isotope I'm really want to use all that often. I know they've got amazing tools, but the RX suite is really really great
Mm.
for
Yeah.
either be it the D-hum, or they've got specialized guitar denoise,
Mhm.
the spectral denoise. Um, they're intensive, but they're great.
Yeah. Yeah, they make really interesting stuff, and I've used plenty of it. I'm always using ozone and
Yeah,
stuff like that. But that kind of visual interface I could see maybe for
yeah. For
a
this
consumer, like, you could have, like, your phone, right? And you can just, like, kinda move things.
or like when
Yeah.
when we've all entered the Matrix in 12 years, when we were wearing our Apple Vision Pro headsets, being able to
Yeah,
something like
right.
that. Yeah, it's a thought. It's a thought.
Mm.
But then would you be able to turn your head 360? But like you were saying with the YouTube coming out of your right ear when you turn your head, um, it definitely needs to be a choice, and we need to have the
Yeah.
ability to choose to listen to stereo.
Yeah, I don't I don't know how I feel. I think it's like, part of me thinks it's cool. It's like, "Wow, it's cool, it can do that." But when I'm like, this happens to me, like, every time if I'm going out to do, like, a little yard work or something or go for
Yeah,
a run, I put my phone in my pocket, and then
yeah,
everything goes in my pocket, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And then it comes back because I think it understands that it must just know, like, "Oh, that's probably a case where you don't want that."
Mhm.
But it is a funny feeling, which is weird because it's more natural, but
It is. It is. But I
I
guess
guess
we've
we're just used
naturalized
to it. We've been
earbuds.
trained to have headphones on and just hear it out of the headphones.
I had a friend have me come over and look at they'd recently gotten a like a hi-fi setup, and they were not an audio person in the slightest. And they'd gotten a decent system. Um, and they had placed it so that the two speakers were back to back. One was facing this way and one was facing exactly the other way. There was no stereo image. It was
Mm,
just exact opposites. And I realized that that phantom middle channel and spatialization is just something that most people, even audiophiles, I mean, maybe not so much audiophiles, but a lot of people just don't think about like at all.
Mm.
I don't really think about the left and the right in the middle of it all.
No, no, I've found myself explaining what listening in mono is to people and
Yeah,
versus stereo, and we just don't think about that, I guess, until you get into this world.
yeah, and I know it's the same way with all the mediums that I'm not,
Yeah.
a professional in. I know there are things happening in be it novels or TV shows or movies or anything at all, where there's
Mm.
so much nuance inside of it that I just get the joy of being a consumer and just get the awesome emotional feeling of consuming that without heavy knowledge of what's going on here.
Well, I think that's kind of the goal of a lot of it too. I don't think you want someone listening to the song and then be like, "Oh, what a cool mixing move that was." You
Yeah,
know,
probably not.
the job of the mixer is almost to get out of the way,
Yeah,
that you're not thinking about it, and or like the camera in a movie. If you're constantly like, "Whoa, cool camera angle. Oh, I love how they're spinning the camera now."
yeah,
You're not thinking about the story, and you're caught up
yeah.
in
In the
you're excited about the paper the
technical,
book's on and not the story of the
right,
book.
right. Oh, that's a great analogy. That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, it
And
is.
yeah, I think that's a little bit like what I was saying before with being at a show and I don't like the way that sounds,
Yeah.
or the new master is kind of
Right.
annoying. The
Yeah.
2014 edition.
Deprive yourself of the joy of consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much of the job is to get out of the way. Your friend, with soap is probably like, I was enjoying the show, but I'm too distracted by this sound. Like I
Yeah.
want to listen to it more, but
I
it's
mean, that was
annoying.
that
It
was it.
hurts or it. Yeah.
It was, and it was made out of a labor of love, and I'm glad that the tool is being used by people, and I'm glad that it's finding its home because we really are very proud of it, and we stand behind it 100%.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, it was made to fix a problem so that it could be it being the end product could be more enjoyable.
It's great people are taking to it, and it kind of brings me to ask you a little bit about MuseHub,
Yeah.
because it's one thing to make something, but it has to also reach people, and you guys are using MuseHub to reach an audience. And
Yes.
I'm not all that familiar with it, but as I've been looking through it, it seems like a pretty cool way to find some new tools for whether you're making
It's
music
great.
or even
So
more than that, I think.
Audacity, I think all or a lot of music creators are very familiar with Audacity. Audacity has been
Mhm.
around for a very long time. And at present, Audacity has been freeware and crowd maintained for as long as I know.
It was
Um,
Sony originally, if I'm not mistaken.
was it? I believe
Am I
you.
wrong about that?
Let me
Uh, I could be wrong. I never really used it, but too much. But it was always the software at the school I work with. Audacity is
sure.
what everybody used.
Um,
That doesn't matter. It's not anymore, at least.
it in 20 yeah, it was developed by shoot. Now you got me looking at the Wikipedia page. This is not important. Yeah. It started in 99 at Carnegie Mellon. Um, yeah, and I believe it was freeware the whole time.
Mm.
Doesn't really matter. It was it's been a part of Muse Group for about 3 years now, and Muse Group launched Muse Hub, where there's also Muse Score and some pretty popular um, creation tools. Specifically, Audacity is the most popular or the most used DAW in the world, um, and it's far and away the most popular amongst non-musicians using DAWs to record non-musical ideas. Um, so a lot of what the MuseHub software is doing is getting the tools to these people that um, you and I and a lot of the listeners of the podcast are probably aware of everything, between the multi-track recorder and the newest release of Serum 2. but like these people may have never owned a plugin before, and may not be familiar with anything inside of the world of DSP. So I think MuseHub is making audio production and DSP tools accessible to an audience that don't necessarily find themselves looking for those otherwise. And I am not affiliated with MuseHub, so I could be getting that story entirely wrong, but that's what I understand it to be. And I really have only the best things to say about that team. And it's had a lot of users since it launched MuseHub as a platform a bit ago.
Hmm.
I
I mean,
think,
it's great you're able to put your work up there and it reaches
yeah,
people. And I see it's
and
like
I
right
know
on the
that,
front page. It's for podcasting essentials. It's after Audacity. It's
yeah,
no voice cleaner.
and I know that MuseHub is encouraging other aspiring developers to get onto the platform and try their shot at kind of creating tools, um, be it for musical uses or non-musical uses.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of joy to be found in DSP if you find your name being called that way, and a lot of great resources for education inside of that sphere.
Hmm. I think it's really cool how you've taken a lot of these interests of yours from playing music with other people, performing, touring, and also just programming and creating your own tools. It's, I think, the kind of modern direction a lot of people that are interested in music making and being involved with music as a career kind of need to think about, because everything changes so fast. It's hard to put any of your eggs in just one basket. So to
Yeah,
have some maneuverability and all of that is smart, and it's probably fun for you too because you get
yeah.
to
I
scratch a
mean,
lot of itches.
yeah. I wouldn't say that like pursuing a career in music is like always, going to be the most financially stable thing that you can do in life. And I wouldn't say that like going deeper into DSP was something that I did to kind of achieve, whatever, a more diverse, either financial or whatever, trying to stabilize myself. But it has given me an appreciation for all sides of music, be it the knob turning, the very granular, this was recorded by a mic and then went through an A to D conversion. Okay, what is A to D? Now that I appreciate that, I appreciate everything that's happening on my screen more, and I
Hmm.
appreciate the music more. And it's also allowed me to like really appreciate the creators that have come before me that have like paved the way and made amazing music and amazing music creation tools.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That tends to happen when you start exploring something, start making it yourself, and start seeing what really goes into it, and
Yeah,
all of the little things that came before that allow you to get to where you're going.
yeah, certainly. It's it's a joy, and there's a lot of innovation left.
Yeah, I think so. It,
Yeah,
it's always, I mean, we're getting spoiled, I think, really. I mean, it seems like every week there's a new this, there's a new that, there's this new
yeah,
thing came out, and everything's like, oh my God, that's so cool. It used to be so much more spread out.
yeah. There's bedroom developers, and there's yeah. I would say is it, maybe I'm biased on this, but I learned to code before ChatGPT and the LLMs could really just spit out code. And I would caution anyone if they want to get into plugin development to learn it the hard way, because even as I've tried to get more into and try and learn higher level and lower level stuff, um, it's funny how there's nothing that can replace doing it the right way. The
Hmm.
the GPTs and the LLMs and all that stuff have led me more astray than in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, they're certainly interesting tools. I've found them maybe like in creating like visuals even, sometimes I find it very hard to get what I want, but sometimes it gives me the idea to make what I want.
Yeah.
And um, that's kind of cool. But yeah, you can't do that if you don't have some of that foundational stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's
It,
still a lot of value to knowing that stuff.
certainly. No, and I don't mean to say don't yeah, I'm not holier than thou. I'll use it. I'll
Hmm.
hop in there, but it can confuse if you don't really know what you're looking at.
Right. I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Anything on the horizon or you want to share before we wrap this
Certainly. I
one up?
mean, yeah. Well, first off, Brian, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun to do. Um,
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is great.
yeah, I imagine by the
Making time
time
out of
this,
your tour.
yeah. Well, I was about to say, I imagine by the time this comes out, my band will have likely finished the tour. We've got about a week and a half left, a little bit more than that. We're ending next Thursday, which is the 16th. So,
You might be out before then.
okay, right on. Well, I've got a band called Moon Tower, and we love our new show. We love our new album. We're selling vinyls of the album that isn't out yet, and that's a lot of fun. Soap Audio is continuing to create some amazing tools that I'm gonna cautious to talk too much about because um, I know how development goes, and
Hmm.
sometimes the feature set ends up working really well in beta, and then in the release we can't deliver. So I will just say for non-musical applications and some cool unusual musical applications, Soap Audio has some great tools coming down the pipeline that I couldn't be happier about. Um,
Mhm.
and other than that, check out Audacity and check out MuseHub and the great people at Muse Group.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely check that out. Put links in the show notes for people so you can just click on them.
yeah,
But yeah, Tom, thanks so much. This has been great.
yeah. It was great to
Thanks for
meet you,
coming by.
Brian.
Yeah, you
Totally.
too. Thank
All
you
right.
to everybody listening. Enjoy.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Music Production Podcast. If you want to help support the show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend, someone you think that would enjoy the show. I'd also love it if you could leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support my work, you can go to brianfunk.com. I've got tons of Ableton Live packs, tutorials, samples. You can check out my book, The 5-Minute Music Producer, which gives you 365 short music making activities to help you get started, stay inspired, and finish more music. And there's also the Music Production Club, where you get my latest releases as soon as they're finished. It gives you access to a community of like-minded people who are making music and sharing ideas. You can share your music, find new collaborators, and participate in our live meetings where we set up some kind of musical challenge and then make music together and share our results at the end. That's the Music Production Club. It's a lot of fun, and you can find that and everything that I do at brianfunk.com. Thanks again for listening to the show, and have a great day.